body right in here?
Well, what I normally do is I have them bring the neck out a little bit so I can get a taller bridge on it. Because typically the neck angle on this is so low, a lot of cases you'll see the bridge is cut down real low. So if you can get a taller bridge on it, you get a little bit better volume out of it and a little bit more sustained and direct sound. So I have him push it out, and I had a couple bases where he fills this in. Actually, you can't really see that, but so we put a little spacer in the back here, and I had to cut this button off here that comes over this, so it would fit the case, because this wouldn't go in the case that way. So I just had him cut it off. But you can't see it. I mean, you don't really notice it.
While you're trying to string this raw, the raw is really good. Getting that higher bridge.
Yeah. I heard the guy in Greensboro is fantastic too. I've never been to his shop.
He's a bass specialist.
I know he's got a great shop. Yeah.
Mike, I have a quick question. I don't have that much experience with it, but trying to explain to someone how to play on a 3/4 tune on the bass. This is one of my bass players right here, and he is from a jazz background. So
Right.
3/4.
Well, there's a couple different ways to play it. It kind of depends upon the feel that everybody else is playing. Now, sometimes you get a mandolin player who won't go. They'll go 3/1, 3/1, like it's like a swing, more of a swing feel. And it goes 3/1, 3/1. So some people play the bass like that, you know.
Yeah.
And so, depending upon what kind of song you're playing, it'll sound good, or it can sound a little too much like that. So sometimes, if it's a slower 3/4, you want to let it ring out. You know?
What about like Blue Moon of Kentucky? What would that be?
Now, Blue Moon of Kentucky it's a tough one because there's a couple different versions to draw from. Now, in the later years, Bill Monroe always played it with walking bass, and a lot of people would miss that. But that's one to the beat. That one's got a lot of air in it, so you don't need to do a lot of that other stuff. But that underneath the fiddles, it sounds good when you walk the bass.
Would you play it both ways during the same song?
Yeah, you switch back and forth. Because you want to bring the dynamic up and down. When it gets to the vocal, you want to get out of the way and let this vocal come out front. But when the fiddles are playing, you want to step in and just, drive the fiddle bows, So gives them something to dig into with the bow, and then when the vocal starts, he's singing, it's just bluesy, so get out of the way. Give it some oxygen.
Do you ever do that beat again when they're singing?
It's just a 1-3-5.
And that's during the singing part.
The fiddles. You can do it during the singing. Sometimes there's another problem. Sometimes those type of songs tend to drag.
Yeah.
And that's why it's nice sometimes to walk the bass, because it keeps it up a little bit. Because if everybody's just kind of letting it drag down, all of a sudden it's just a slog,
And when did you decide when to walk it, not on like a chorus or an instrumental part, on just a regular?
Sometimes on a chorus I'll walk, or in between, Blue Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and prove our truth. Fill in the gaps kind of thing.
And is there a standard way to know whether to play a low 5 or a high 5? What is the theory of that?
I like to follow the melody. So when the melody goes up, I can play on the higher strings, and when the melody goes down, I play down on the low. So that I go up and down with the melody. Subconsciously I do that. I don't always match it up perfectly.
So if it's lower singing, then your 5 note would be the lower note.
After the melody goes downward, then you kind of go that way. And if it goes up or it comes up, I'm trying to think of a good example. Sometimes a song like it's a real slow ballad type of song. I'm having a brain freeze now.
Well, because you're hearing that rocky song.
I mean, if
Pathway
we
of
could
Teardrops
to
is
the
another
hallway, we could. I mean,
Yeah, Pathway of Teardrops is another good one of the Osmond Brothers. You know, it's a very slow. A pathway of teardrops will hold you. Those are just one note at a time.
see, that scares me just because of the space in between there. The bass player has got to be dead on it, you know,
Everybody's got to be on it.
on it.
And this is the thing about this music is a lot of people don't realize, and there's a lot of different ways to play this music. It's not right or wrong. It's just everybody. You can go to different parts of the country. It has a different feel, the way that they play this, the rhythm, you know. And I discovered this when I moved to Nashville because I saw Bill Monroe play live, and he just had a sound, like a rhythmic sound. And it's hard to describe how those guys played with him. But it was in a way that the rhythm was played in such a way that things always sounded faster than they actually were. And then I played with J.D. Crowe one time, and I had the same experience with him in a totally different sort of feel. We played Train 45, and I said, man, nobody plays it at that speed. I said, that was great. He goes, it sounds fast, but it's not. He said, that's the trick. And he's right, you know. So my theory is that everything sounds good as long as it has a good groove to it. If everybody's sort of fighting to find the rhythm and get together, then it doesn't sound very good, and that's when things start to kind of fall apart or it drags or whatever. Another good one is Sitting Alone in the Moonlight, because it's got a good walking, you can walk that one. Anything that's 3/4, a lot of times I walk it a lot in between, just to give it some, keep it up, you know, because it's real easy to ease off. And I was trained early on not to drag.
Yeah. One more question for me. Who were the first bass players that, I know you listened to probably all the music, but who did you single out to listen to, your first influences on bass? Because I know you as a banjo player, you know, and then...
Well, other than the people that I was around when I was first growing up, I would have to say the first bass player that I really got to see and hear in at that level was Roy Huskey Jr.
Oh, well,
You know, and seeing Roy play was just like, he was a one of a kind, one in a million kind of bass players. You know, he was naturally gifted, and he had a photographic memory. So anything that he had ever played previous, he could just play it again, years later without having to chart or anything. He just had it in him, and he could hear music like that, and so he was the most intuitive and naturally gifted bass player I probably ever got to see in person, other than somebody like Jock Lopez.
You form your bass playing?
What's that?
Your banjo playing? How long did you
Absolutely, yeah.
How long did you do?
I've still played. I mean, I've been playing since I was 13. So I started on the banjo, and that gave me a solid base of repertoire. I learned tons of tunes. When you learn the banjo or the fiddle or mandolin, you're learning tunes, you're learning repertoire, you're learning songs, you're learning breaks to songs. If you just start out on the bass, it's a lot harder learning curve to get all that repertoire under your belt and to get intuitive about how the music moves and to know, I can feel we are going to a 6 minor chord right now. You know? Sometimes it takes a while to kind of learn it, sort of to be intuitive about it. And it's easier, I think, if you have a vast amount of repertoire behind you. That's why most jazz musicians, even if they're bass players or if they're horn players, they all play piano. Because they understand the harmony and they understand how the foundation of it all works, you know. And it's also in the repertoire. No. I wish I did.
Play one on TV.
But you know, repertoire is everything. So, you know, as far as being just a bass player, I always steer people, if you want to learn just the sort of the foundations of bluegrass, there's all these great box sets, of course, the Bill Monroe, Flat Scruggs. You can get all the great music, Stanley Brothers, Reno and Smiley, all the classics. It's a lot. So you have to kind of concentrate on what you like best and go that direction. Or I always steer people towards those bluegrass album band records that are maybe Tony Rice, because it's all standard repertoire, but it's a cross section of Reno, Smiley, Flat and Scruggs, just a variety of tunes, and it's in tune and it's easy to listen to. You don't have to fight to play with it or think that you're not in the right tune. You can tune up and you can play right with it because it's at the right pitch, and that's really important. And those are just good templates and good roadmaps to learn repertoire.